It's Real Fit Radio with B
and J.Lou.
If this is your first time listening, welcome. And if you're a returning listener, welcome back.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, because I don't know where you're listening from.
I feel good.
That's it? You feel good?
Mm-hmm.
Good.
How are you feeling?
I feel pretty good. No complaints over here.
That's good. I mean, I think we have complaints, but based on the book I'm reading, what you say to yourself or how you talk to yourself, it's like positive self-talk. It's good that you said you have no complaints. So, yeah, I'm learning a lot from that book. It's interesting. It's kind of confirming a lot of stuff I didn't know and reaffirming some things I did know.
Almost like you was doing something subconsciously, but now it's in your conscious because you are aware of it based off the information that's been told. And you was like, oh, I've been doing that, but you really didn't know that that was a mechanism that should be taught anyways.
Right.
So now you know consciously as well.
I know it's good. I don't want to butcher the title, so I just grabbed it, but it's What to Say When You Talk to Yourself, Shad Helmstetter. And Devon Franklin actually recommended the book. He said he was reading it.
Mm-hmm.
So I've read all of Devon Franklin's books with the exception of the new one that just came out. So I was interested when he said that was something he was reading, and it's really good. It gives you some insight onto how we've been pre-programmed and even further programming ourselves to work against what we want to do, like how we really want to be. But because we were told certain things or shown something or people are speaking stuff to us all the time, you can't do that. They don't even mean to do it. You're not fast enough or pretty enough or small enough or tall enough. You know, all these different things. They don't mean to. They're telling you this based on what they see. And it's just really interesting. I'll dive into that and we won't do a podcast. But I just thought it's been a good read thus far. So if you're looking for something new to read, some insight on just assisting you and hopefully, you know, getting to the best version of yourself, that's a good book to get into. And it's not something you can just read. You could read it in a day, but I think you need to digest it. Let's kind of sit with some of it every now and then go back to it. But yeah, so I'm ready to get into it.
Well, let's do it. What's the main course?
I wanted to talk about forgiveness. That's something I've been thinking about, and you hear it, and we were having a conversation last week. I think it was Josiah and I. There are people that do things and they just come back around and so on. So that forgiveness was something that came into play. I just started to think about it. And it's interesting because forgiveness can get a little tricky, especially if you spiritually feel like you've been taught to forgive. Also, even with you practicing martial arts, forgiveness and Zen and things like that, even Buddhists, they have these different teachings where they teach you to be very open and not move forward in anger and love and compassion, empathy. These teachings that are really good, I think, just for a person internally. It just assists you overall with just feeling good. Because even when someone's wronged you, if you walk around holding that in and you're upset and you never had a conversation about it, you don't get to tell the person what they did, or you guys had your fallout and you find yourself, you're still talking about this over and over again. It's something obviously that is affecting you. And it could just really be eating you up like cancer because you haven't really had the space to just kind of put it all out there, or as Josiah says, unpack it and really just get to the core of how it made you feel, where you're at with it, and how you're going to move forward. And I think those things don't happen with forgiveness. That was something I had to get to because I was one of those people when I felt like somebody wronged me. It was just like, I can't even stay in your space because what you've done to me. Then it was the whole frustration of trying to figure out how to communicate in hopes that they understand what they've done. And then when you do it, if they don't understand what they've done, it's this whole, they're not open to being understanding or validating how you feel. So those things all can happen and you guys never reach any area for resolve or forgiveness. If I say you did something to me, you hurt me, and you say, well, I wasn't doing that. And I'm like, but you hurt me. And you keep saying, well, I wasn't trying to hurt, but what you did hurt me. If you could say to me, wow, I hurt you. That's horrible. I never wanted to hurt you. Man, I'm so sorry for hurting you. It wasn't my intention, but the fact that I did it, I'm sorry. So you validate my feeling instead of you keep saying, that's not what I did. I'm still saying you hurt me. And then once you can validate that, you say that I'm hurt, and then you can say, wow, I'm sorry that happened. I didn't mean to, but it still happened. We can move to the next step where it's like, where do we go from here? Because if you didn't mean it, you are going to fight for next. I didn't mean that, but now, do you forgive me? Can we move forward? Because I didn't mean to do this. And then we can kind of go from there too. But I think those things don't happen. I don't even think a lot of people get past the first step, or even before that. A person may not even know that they offended someone. Next step, the person that was offended may not communicate it, or it is communicated, and the person was like, I didn't mean to do it. I don't know how you saw it that way. So then they can't even get to where do we go from here. So what I find with forgiveness being really tricky, I had to find out that forgiveness started with me, even if the other person wasn't even included. And I'm not saying to exclude somebody if that's what you want to give energy to, but I find sometimes with certain people, it's been a perpetuated cycle and you kind of know what it's going to be. So you have to start working with you. You got to work with what you got. Because if you're dealing with somebody and they don't see it, I don't want to hear it, I don't know why you would think I would do something like that, and they're not hearing what has happened, then I had to come to a place, and that's what I wanted to share in hopes to equip somebody that may be in a situation. Sometimes you have to start with yourself. It's not about the other person, people. If it's a place you shop at and the way they treat you, you got to make some decisions within where it's kind of like, okay, this happened. This is how I feel. And I don't want to go to that place anymore, or I don't want to deal with this person or people anymore. And if there comes a time when this person or people, or I decide to go back there, I'm prepared to deal with, if they never have an understanding or desire to understand how I feel, I'm okay with that. Or, hey, I'm not okay with that, so I'm not going back to that place. I'm not okay with that, so I'm just going to have to exclude these people from my life because this is not healthy for me. It's a difference from being selfish and actually looking out for you.
All right.
People get it mixed up. It's like, oh, you're being selfish. You're being selfish. And it's like, how am I being selfish when I'm looking out for my well-being? Because it can become a whole health issue, or you dealing with other people that didn't even do anything to you in a real messed up way based on past experiences. So some healing has to take place, but actually just sitting down with yourself. And it's like, I don't like this. I don't like how I was treated at the store. I don't like how this person treats me, or this keeps happening, and how do I want to deal with it? Do I want to have a conversation with them, or am I just beyond that? Because sometimes people mistake, or I find you might think that forgiveness has to happen with you and the person, or you going into the store and talking to the manager, and that's your process. But for me, I've come to a place where it's not about all that. It's just like, I can forgive you, or, change how I move with going into places or putting myself in certain situations and still not feel like I have to explain myself. I think forgiveness gets real complicated when it's like, oh, in order for me to forgive this person, I have to talk to them. I have to go in the store. I have to go to this place and this whole thing. It's like, no, it's just, it can start with you. I forgive what incident, what situation, what transpired between myself and this person or people, but I'm also choosing in my forgiveness to look out for myself, because that's not a good place for me. So I'm going to move forward, and me doing that, that's not a part of my life. And some people struggle with, how can you forgive, but you don't go over there anymore? You don't do this anymore. And it's like, because it's not healthy for me. I got to look out for me. If not, I'll continue this perpetuated cycle and I'm right back at square one again. There's no growth, not any of it. So I just wanted to touch on how forgiveness can get real complicated, and it's not. It used to be really complicated for me. It's really not. It's about you having your peace, you validating how you feel, because it's real. Don't give that power to somebody else to validate it, because I think we often do. We're waiting for someone to acknowledge and understand how they hurt us, how what they said, how they didn't show up, how we were wronged in some way. And that's where this whole issue started. But if you waiting for somebody and they never do it, you still attached to that. It didn't have to be that complicated. You could do all those steps with yourself and be at peace and cut that tie. Like, I'm moving forward. And even if a person comes back around, because sometimes it gets complicated. Oh my God, this person or people, I'm so anxious. It's like, you don't have to feel that way. Because that's another thing you can identify immediately. If somebody doesn't understand that what they did to you affected you in a certain way, they probably aren't going to understand that you changed the way you interacted with them based on that. So you don't have to explain yourself. It's just about protecting yourself. Another podcast we have, protecting your energy, but you can forgive. You can do some other things. You don't have to wait on somebody else, figure out how you're going to ever talk to this person. Even we see on movies where these big climax comes where they meet up and they have this conversation and stuff, and that's when it all happens. But it doesn't have to be like that. It can happen right with you.
My motto is always starting with myself first, because at the end of the day, you're the only person that can control you. You can't control outside sources or your environment. When you was talking, I was thinking of the biblical content from Jesus when he said, "Forgive them, Lord, for they not know what they do."
Yeah, they know not what they do.
Or in our words, is forgive them because they don't know what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
That ties right into the whole thing that you said about waiting for the validation and it never comes, because the fact of the matter is, I always say, don't apologize or ask me for forgiveness if you don't feel like you've done anything wrong. So if these people are running around doing things and affecting you somehow, and you tell them, oh, you hurt me, and you tell them exactly what they've done, and they come at you with, well, that wasn't my intention, etc., all the stuff that you said before, and instead of them just saying, well, I apologize, I know I hurt you and that's not what I meant to do, but I see that it has affected you, and whether I meant it or not, I apologize, and will you forgive me? If they don't have that mentality, you immediately have to transition over to, like you said, you don't even have to say it to them. You can say inside, I'll forgive you already. I forgive you because I know you don't understand what you did, but the only way I can even start this healing process is I have to forgive you, because if I don't, then I'll hold on to the transgression that happened and I never get over it, I never heal, or I might do the same thing to somebody else, or don't give myself fully to somebody else because of an incident that happened with you. So you definitely have to start with yourself and move forward. The other thing I want to say is there are definitely levels to forgiveness, because you touch bases on a few things where it's like, why would I go back to the place that keeps hurting me? Now, granted, there are some exceptions to the rule. If the person that asked for the forgiveness and you forgave them, first you forgave them before they asked for it, or if they came and asked for forgiveness or whatnot and they made some changes or whatever the case may be, then I could see why you would keep them in the loop. But a lot of times I do agree with what you said, where people act like because you said I'll forgive you, everything is supposed to go back to normal.
Mm-hmm.
And that ain't the way it works. I don't like to equate this to sin, obviously, because sin is weighted the same. This is not the same to me. There's some issue or some examples out there where I might have said, I don't know, you suck at basketball or something. It's like, you hurt my feelings, man. You said I suck. That's something simple. It's like, man, well, I was just joking, man, but I really apologize because I was just cracking a joke that really wasn't funny at the time. Will you forgive me? That's something minute. You forgive, you know that, you move forward, don't do that again. But if it's something that's really harmful to you where you feel like I can't bounce back from this one, I can forgive you, but we'll never move the same. There are levels to transgressions in terms of forgiveness, and I do definitely feel like people should mind themselves in those situations, because if you don't, you could end up back in that same situation or in a perpetuated cycle, because this person just don't see the transgression even though they ask for forgiveness. Like, it's almost like you tell God, I won't do it again, and you go do it again.
Mm-hmm.
So there are levels to that, and in those levels, only you know what you're willing to work with somebody with. And sometimes time can elapse on certain situations. And when somebody finally does realize, like, I must have had something to do with why the movement is different between us, when they do finally decide to come around, and let's say time has passed for a while and you've already forgiven them, but because you're human, you still think about, dang, this time has passed or whatnot. And it's crazy how I haven't heard from such and such. But then they finally come around and then they apologize and ask for forgiveness and stuff. That's where I go into the place of, it ain't gonna be normal. It ain't gonna be like how we was before. Oh, let's go grab a drink, or yeah, I'm going over to wherever your favorite place is that y'all used to go with it. Man, you can join them if you want. It ain't like that. You gotta, it's levels to working yourself back there, and you, the transgressor, has to understand if it don't ever get back to that spot, you have to be okay with that. That's solely up to the person that you did something to, and you have to be okay with the relationship that they allow you to have with them, because at the end of the day, something has changed. There was something that affected an individual in that particular situation, whatever it is, and you have to live with the results of that situation. And I think that's what the transgressor, I just keep calling them that, that's what they don't understand sometimes. It's like, well, I said I was sorry. Okay, you said you were sorry, but that don't change the fact that it affected me in a way that you would never understand unless it happened to you. So you can't make me feel bad about moving a certain way or saying that I changed because you changed up. Well, okay, yeah, I had to, because in order for me to protect myself and to grow from the situation, I had to change. There's no way that I could progress if I stayed the same and allow you to just get away with it, because the biggest thing that comes from that is if I just let you come back like nothing ever happened, then you won't get the full understanding of what you did. It's almost like the situations we're facing now with black people being killed by cops. Like, some of these cops haven't been arrested, et cetera, and the justice have not been served equally as a regular criminal. And I equate that to, if you allow that to happen, then they won't understand the full ramification of what happened. So going back to the forgiveness part, if you just let somebody come back in and be like, oh, okay, he said, I forgive you, so we're good. Like, you want to go hang out? And then I go do it. It's no weight on the problem that you caused. So I definitely feel the need for people to understand, or for you guys to catch on to the part about there are levels to forgiveness, and you should take time to figure out what your levels are, and definitely forgive those people before they even come around, or be ready for them in the event that they don't come back around. That would be my advice in that.
It's definitely not a one size fits all. It's more so, I think, based on the individual, because some people, they can take things and they may bounce back. I'm sure there's somebody out there that's like, yeah, they really did me wrong, but once they apologize, we're good again. It doesn't work like that for them. So it's okay. It's not a problem. For me, I just wanted to share, it can get complicated for some people. So if there's some people out there where this, you kind of like identify with that, where it's just like, wow, you know, all the things I said previously, look out for you. And it's okay for you to feel the way you feel, for you to process it and go through not possibly wanting, like you said, to have everything return back to normal, because it's like I said, I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to jump back in there. It's you. It's how you feel. And I truly believe when someone really, really cares for you, when they really love you in a way where they want you in their life in any capacity, I'm not talking about some crazy stuff, they'll seek to understand, and they'll begin to have a dialogue or conversation. And you may hear or find that, dang, we, like you said, we can't go out. Man, that sucks, because I really miss that with you. I miss hanging out with you. I want to go back to how stuff was. But you know what? If this is a consequence or repercussion of what happened and how I made you feel, I got to deal with it. But the fact that you're still in my life, the fact that I can call you now, you know, the fact that I have this piece, I'm willing to work. And again, this goes without saying, you know, nobody could have you doing no crazy stuff. You have to do this to get back in my life, and you got to do this. You jump at the hoops. That's crazy.
Yeah.
But I just think, you know, I think if you hurt someone and they say, I'm just not ready for that, I'm not ready to just jump back in there, because there could be trust that was, you know, abused. It could be where you hurt someone in a way where they, you know, they just can't put themselves in a vulnerable position again to be hurt. They just not ready yet. It could be something you said, because even as small as it was when you said you suck at basketball, for some people, depending on how many times it was jokingly said,
Mm-hmm.
in their mind, they're like, oh, that's all you ever do is say I suck. They never say nothing good about, and I work hard at this. You know, in my mind, one day I'm gonna be good at this. They may feel like, I didn't know you took it that seriously, but it's like, why do you always have to say something negative? I know you have those friends that can't never say anything good.
Oh yeah.
You doing something and it's like, man, look at you, whack, you suck, you this. It's like, Every negative thing is a joke. You could show up and you look fly. You killing the game. And it's like, bitch, you showing up thinking you look all good. That don't even match your whack hair. Like, just they looking for something. I'm just trying to make something up. But they're those people. A friend of mine would say there's truth in just kidding.
Mm-hmm.
People hide under the false guise of just kidding, but they're insulting you and they're saying mean things. And again, somebody could say, oh, you being sensitive. But I don't feel the need. This could come with growth, just growing and getting older. I'm not going to go walk up to my daughter and be like, and she comes on and says, do you like this dress? And I'm like, yeah, but your teeth are yellow, and I'm just making stuff up. I mean, how does that work? Like, what did I want to give her from that? I'm just playing. But what did I want to give her in that statement? And I think people should look at that. If you got somebody around you, they can never say anything good. Just really pay attention to it. Because it's real subtle. I bet you think you that deal because you got your GT. Big man. You ain't doing nothing. You ain't going to get nobody because you're still ugly. And it's like, what? With your big lips. And I'm just making them stuff and it's like, man, shut up. You always talking about me. And it's like, I'm just playing with you, man. Why? Yeah, but it's like, why couldn't you just say, oh, dang, you got the car that you wanted. You worked hard for that too. Oh, man, you out here doing it. Like, wow, man, congratulations. If you got it, I'm next. Just something like that. And I said to somebody, this may not even resonate. It may sound really corny. Like, we talk about each other all the time. As I grow, I want to empower. I want to speak words of life. You telling somebody they're ugly, you telling somebody they think they that deal. You don't know what somebody's dealing with. You telling somebody, oh, I guess you always got to get stuff done. Here you come. Positive Mr. So-and-so. You got to start looking at that kind of stuff around you because it's not good. Those are bad seeds being planted. And so if you're not ready and they can't respect that, they can't respect what you're willing to give, that's a red flag too. Like, you still about you. You here for what you want. You want this to go the way you want it to go. You were okay with saying or doing whatever you did. And I still need to make sure you get what you want. And that's not right. You'll end up being hurt again. So you don't have to be selfish, but take care of you. Put you first. And when it comes to forgiveness, go at your pace and understand, like you said, it's levels to it. And it's nothing wrong with you being honest with yourself and where you're at in those levels. Yes. I just hope that resonates with someone in regards to forgiveness, because it hit for me and I just have been thinking about it and I thought we could talk about it. So if you have any questions, comments, concerns, or you want to keep this conversation going, you can shoot us an email at realfitradio@gmail.com. Our podcast drops every Monday. If you want to hear the latest snippet, you can catch that on our Instagram at realfitradio. If you're not following us, you definitely should be. As always, I hope this inspired, impacted, or empowered someone. Until next time.